Welcome at part 3 of the Blended 2.8 Fluid Simulator. In this part we are going to make a king cone ice cream. And for today I'm going to learn you to make models out of the Fluid Simulator, adding the topping with weight paint, make the cone, and as bonus I will show you how to add the ground grid. And as always, I've got a tiny little display down here which will show you what hotkeys and mouse buttons I'm using. For example, when I select this lamp, you can see I've used the last mouse. Delete the lamp, delete the cube, select the camera, zoom out for a bit, then press Ctrl Alt numpad 0, move the camera, and select the camera tab and increase the end so it will be visible again. Now we're gonna make the cone of two parts. So with Shift A, we're gonna spawn in a circle, then open the option tab down here and change this into 8. Close it up and size the circle up to 5. Then go to the front view with numpad 1, press tab to go into edit mode, press E and hold your Ctrl and just move this all the way down until it's like 2 blocks. Now press S and scale this downwards into something like this. And zoom in again, so we get tiny little blocks. Press S, something like this. When we zoom out, we have a nice cone shape. Before continuing, go out of edit mode, then press Shift D to duplicate it and just place this one down here. Then select this cone again, go into edit mode. And now press in an empty field to unselect these vertices or press Alt A. So now we need to add some loop cuts. Now if I would press Ctrl R and use the scroll wheel, this should happen. I just add 5 of these things, then click on it, click again to let it go. Zoom in for a bit, turn on the transparency. Now drag select a box and select all of these except for the ones on the top. And now we're just going to rotate all of these +1 each time. Which I mean when press R, press Z, hold your Ctrl, move it down. 1, 2, 3. Press B, hold your Shift, unselect these ones. And now we're going to rotate it 4 times. Press R, press Z, hold your Ctrl. 1, 2, 3, 4. B, hold your Shift, unselect. 2, 3, 4, 5, and etc. Then go to the modifier tab and add in a wireframe. So now if I just unselect this, you can see we have like one part of the cone ready. Will make sense a little later on. Gonna save my progress, very important. So before we're going to mess around with the thickness, you want to make sure that this first part is back at a spot. And or we're just going to name stuff. So because selecting can sometimes be difficult, especially when you have a background and all kinds of stuff. And it's very handy to just select it via this. So we're just going to call this cone grid. I'm just going to call this cone. And with the cone being selected, shade smooth and add in a subdivision surface and put it on 2 and it's okay. Just gonna turn on the transparency. So now with the grid being selected, just gonna add in a subdivision surface and then this will happen. It makes it into circular instead of squares. This is something we don't want, so we're gonna move this above the wireframe. And now, if I would just turn off the cone itself, you can see it added more squares. So if I would turn this off, less squares, more squares. Turn the cone back on. And now we're going to give this wireframe some thickness. Something like this would be fine. So that means 0.08. And then just close it up. Now before continuing, you can see, when it's getting lower and lower, things getting a little bit more messier and messier. But one thing we can do about this is just turn off the even thickness. So that will be gone for now. And when you view it from a distance like this, you won't see anything of it. Before continuing, let's do a little more shaping. So with the cone being selected, go to the front view with numpad 1. Hit tab to go into edit mode. Turn on the transparency. Then hold Alt. And select one of these top edges. So you can see everything has been selected. Now just hit E, hit S, hold your Ctrl and just move it out once. hit E, hold Ctrl, just move it up 4 times. Then you can just decide to just hold your scroll and just put your view like this, which I like. Press E, press S, hold your Ctrl, move it once inwards. Now zoom in a little bit, hit E, hit Z. So I know for sure it goes down. And just put it down just a little bit, just something like so would be nice. You don't have to hold your Ctrl, it's not going to be that important. I'm not going to fill in the inside. I will just show you later on in the tutorial what I did to actually fill up the inside. For now, just go out of edit mode and you can just see when turn off the transparency that we made a little edge here, but it's messy up here. We want to fix that. So go back into edit mode, then hit Ctrl R just so you can see the yellow ring. Select once and then move it all the way up and then a touch down. Not much, like so. And now you can see we fixed it back up again. Of course, the edge should not be too round, so we're gonna add another loop cut. Press Ctrl R, do it over here, just click twice and it's fine. And one on the top, press Ctrl R, just like so, and it's fine. And when we go out of edit mode, you can see it's very nice. You can, if you wish, add in another one of these. But I think it's fine for now, so I'm just going to leave it on 2 because we're going to make some ice cream on the top and you won't see much of this edge being blocky. Select both of these, go into front view with numpad 1, press G and hold your Ctrl and just move it above the red line like this. So now we are going to add some ice cream. Hit Shift A, add in a UV sphere, press S, type in 5 and just move it up. And then into edit mode, turn on the transparency. We're just going to select these vertices. So when I delete this, you can see we have 2 more lines below the middle of the UV sphere. I hope you understand what I'm saying here. Here's my English. So hold Alt, select the lower edge. And then I like to do it from the front view. Hit E, hit S for scale. Just move it something like this. Press G, press Z, and just move it a little bit down. Hit E, hit Z, move it a little bit down, just like so. And now I'm just going to go to this view while holding my scroll. Hit E, press S, something like this. E, S, E, S, E, S. Zoom in, hit E, hit S, and hold your Ctrl. So when we just move this all the way to the middle. When you see your arrow doing, weird like this, like a compass, you have hit at the middle and select. Hit on the mouse button, remove double vertices, and you can see we removed 31 vertices. Very nice. So now, I'm just gonna call this sphere fake, because we're going to remove that later on. Hit Shift A, add in a cube. Hit S and type in 9. Then from the front view, I'm just going to move this up. And this time, when going to wireframe, you guys can see it better, I'm just going to move it up until it's 3 blocks away from the ice, fake ice. Select the ice, go to the Physics tab, hit Fluid, choose Fluid. Select the box, hit Fluid, and select Domain. Just going to save it up before things go wrong. Then I'm going to change the final resolution to 100, and or I'm just going to change the thickness of the fluid because ice is thicker than water. So just hit the tab that says viscosity, if I'm saying the correct way. Then over here, if you open this, and one warning, don't click on the minus because you will remove it and you're not getting it back unless you edit it yourselves again. It can be frustrating. I already lost one. I don't know how I did it. I do remember I removed the hunting once because I select this and when you click on it nothing happens. So I thought I need to click on this, but it makes sense. It will remove it. And when you select it and go out of it, it will, change the formula of it. It's really weird. If you remove this by accident, you just have to download an older version of Blender or something, open that, and then check out the values of it and just re-add it again. So in this case, I'm just going to change this all to 0 and change this to 10. Then open the bake tab, save up my work, and I'll click on bake. Now one thing though, you don't have to bake it all the way to the end. You're just going to, bake it up, I don't know, just before 50%, 40% would be nice. Numpad 1 to go to the front view, just press Z, go to solid, select the fake one and just hide it for now. Then hold your other mouse button onto the timeline and you can already see stuff happening. So I'm just going to stop the simulation because, it just hits about here and I just need to be somewhere around here. So what I found perfect is this is our middle line. This is our middle line and I want the middle line to just hit the edge down here. Just gonna move it down something like this. This would be nice, 44. Now before going to the modifier tab and apply this, just select the water and change the preview to final preview so it looks a little bit better. Then go to the modifier tab and apply this. Then unhide the fake one. Select the fake one and just delete this thing. So now we actually have a fluid model. Of course, we just need to change some things here and there. I'm just going to select it and click shade smooth. Then add a modifier, add a smooth modifier. Just put this on 3. Apply. Add another one of these. 3. Apply. Now this would be fine. So now I'm just going to add in some roughness to the edge only and a little bit to the ice cream itself if you want to use this without chocolate, of course. Numpad 1, going to edit mode and select an empty field. So now we're just going to enable this function down here, which in case when we select something, for example press G, you can see this modifier here, and when you can just drag stuff along. In this case, we're going to select random, and I'm just going to just turn on or off. It's very important. Now it's on, very good. I'm going to make a drag selection box and select everything underneath before it really hits the flow that goes up. Going to press S for scale, and as you can see, if I would move this like so, and when you use your scroll wheel, you can see the roughness. It's going to press escape to undo because it's way too much. Press S again, and I'll just use my scroll wheel until it's outside the ice cream. And very carefully, it's going to move it a little bit like so. So when I undo, you can see it has a lot of roughness. So back into edit mode. Undo by selecting an empty field. And now this time, I'm just going to do this the other way. So select all the vertices just before it hits the corner to go into a downflow, as I like to call it. Hit S for scale, and you can do a little bit more this time, just a little rougher, just like so. Go out of it, and you can see when we turn off the transparency, it's one hell of a noisy mess. In this case, you're going to add some modifiers again, edit smooth, put this on to 4 until you don't really see these blackish lines anymore, and it's nice. Apply it, add in another modifier. We're going to add a subdivision surface, but one warning: when you're happy with the subdivision surface, always turn it off, because everything you do in Blender have to recalculate the subdivision surface again. But for seeing one time the final result, you can just crank it up carefully. And actually, you should always save things up, because one thing that goes wrong and Blender just starts crying and close itself up. So I think for the final resolution, 3 would be nice. And don't click too much, just let Blender calculate. And of course, the final resolution on 3 too. For now, I'm just happy with the ice cream surface. The only thing that has to be done is resize it. I will go press S and press X. And put it once like this. Go to the side view with numpad 3. Hit S, hit Y. And one time like so. So it's a little bit thinner and a little bit higher. I found it a little bit too flat. Go to the front view with numpad 1 and press G a little bit down. And I think this ice cream is a little bit too big, so I'm gonna hit S, scale it down, something like. What I like the best way is when this side here match it up with this side, kinda ish. And put it down, just like so. And like I said, we're not gonna see the edge line because we're kinda going to see it like this. I'm gonna adjust the camera later on. Almost happy, just a slight touch more. Something like this. Hit G, put it down like so, and I am happy. So now we got the ice onto the cone. With the ice being selected, call it ice cream. And there we go, we got the cone, and the ice cream. So now we're going to need to make chocolate on it. Before doing that, just turn down the subdivision surface. It needs to think. Think. Turn it down again, think. But this is something you don't want. You don't want Blender to, be like so. And the last one, just turn it all the way off. Okay, the chocolate. I hope this time it goes the right way, because this is actually the second time I'm doing this tutorial. So let's add in a cylinder. Hit S, hit 5. Then from the front view, let's scale it down. And the problem was I couldn't get this done before. I hope it will be done this time. It worked when I was testing the tutorial. Something like this would be fine. Maybe even a little bit thinner. Because we want to add some nice chocolate flow onto it, right? We can always adjust stuff. Add in a cube. Size it up till 9. And go into wireframe when pressing Z. And move this up just until the floor of the cube is underneath the ice cream itself. This is going to readjust the height. Put this. Oh yeah, just before doing that, just disable this again. Press G and move it down like this until you have something like that. Now select our coin, go to the physics tab, hit fluid and choose fluid. Hit the domain box, hit fluid and choose domain. Now this time I'm just going to use a different value. I don't want it to be just thick like ice. I just want to give it a 1 and change this to 9. Put the resolution on 100, hit Ctrl S to save it, and now, God be with me, I'm going to bake this. Yes, it worked. Okay, that saved me up some time. So now as you can see, it will drop. To have a better view, press Z, hit solid mode. I'm just going to select this thing and just call it fake again and hide it. Just for now. And one thing I actually forgot, now I'm seeing this, I forgot it each time. Select the ice cream, hit fluid and make this into an obstacle. Now I'm just going to rebake it again after saving it up. Rebake, put the timeline back. And now, when it goes down, yes, now it hits the ice cream. Something like this. And yeah, you can see we have a little bit too much going off to the side. I would like to make this a little bit thinner, so I'm just going to make this visible again. What I'm going to do, I'm going to scale this fake thing. Scale this down, but make it thicker. Something like this. And this is just playing around, save it up. Rebake it again, and you just have to do this until you find the right thickness. Hide it again. Just put it down. Almost. Come on. So now we are kind of getting there. So you can now see it's really thick. So I'm just going to adjust it once more. And of course some people will say, you can also model this, but I think this is actually more fun to do. Play around with this. And I think this is fine. One thing again, it always goes a little bit offside. Just like before when we placed the ice onto the cone, you could see it was a little bit off to the right. And from the side view it was also off to the right. The same actually happens now, so that's why here is more open than here. So let's just apply it. And delete the fake one. And now just move it a little bit to the left, just a tiny touch. And same from the side view with numpad 3. Move it a little bit. So now we have our chocolate topping. You can just shade smooth and then add some modifiers. And in this case, the chocolate can be very, very smooth. So just apply it like that. And to give it a little bit more shape, I would say, you can also go into edit mode. Let me just hide the cone grids, and hide the ice cream. So I just have a little more view of what's happening. Just going to select the ones underneath much as possible. Maybe it will work like this. Then go to top, hold shift and just unselect some parts. Just randomly. So that is the whole point with playing with the Fluid Simulator. You just have to redo and redo until you're happy. Of course, like this afterwards, you can just play around with it. I'm just going to put this on smooth. Hit G. Hit Z. Kinda ish. Just a little more. And you know what? I think this is fine for now. I don't want to mess around with this because it's a tutorial. Undo the transparency, and now you got a little bit more noise in the bottom stuff, I would say. That is what I was aiming for. Then add in another one of these, hit it a few times. And you know what, this is good for now. Two things to be done. One, that's the peanuts onto the top. And of course add a background, add the grid and give it some colors. Let's first add in the ground and some of the colors. Just going to select the camera for now. And then put the ice cream in the middle as much as possible. Zoom in for a touchy bit. Something like this. Ctrl Alt numpad 0. Perfect. You can always just adjust it a little bit more. Select the cube and change it into Shoko. Hit Shift A, add in a plane, size it up to 100. So you know for sure we have everything in our screen. And let's give it some color. So with the ground being selected, go to the material tab and use the default material. And just call this ground. Then hit this. Give it a touchy bitchy bluish. And then it's down and we need to see something, right? It's very handy. Let's go to the second tab, change EV to cycles. Then hit CPU for GPU if you can. If it's not enabled, it should be enabled because I didn't change anything when I got this blender. You can just go to Preferences, General, and then make sure your CUDA is selected. And then you can either just turn on or off your video card or your Intel or ADM chip, whatever. Save user preferences. So then you should have these options. Just gonna change the light paths to 5 because I don't need that much bounces. Then I'm just going to change this performance to 5.6. 5.6. Okay, very good. Save it back up. Turn on cycles. Also one thing, go to the third tab and select border so it will only show inside the camera view. Going to hit Alt A to unselect the background. I'm going to hit Shift A, select plane, size it up to 10. Then from the top view, I'm going to go into wireframe, hit tab to go into edit mode, and I'm just going to place it here. Then I'm going to hit the modifier and add in a mirror and hit those two. And when I go into solid mode, you can clearly see we have 4 of these plates. Go back to the camera. Hit G, hit Z, and just move this just above the camera. Go out of edit mode, go to the material tab, add a new material, call this lamp, and change this one for emission. Then hit the render tab again. So now you can see we have added a little bit of light. Still, I'm going to change it to 2.5. Hit the world tab and change the world setting to something like this. So now it's nice lighted up. Hit Alt A to unselect everything. Now let's give the king cone some color. So I'm just going to select something. And by the way, I should actually need to change the to lamp, as I like to call this. And this is the ground. Very good. So let's just hit the cone. Go to the material tab, select new. Hit this to cone. Open the preview window. And just select. This would be nice. Then select the cone grid. Open this one and select cone. So now you can see we give our cone some color. Select the ice cream. And select the cone, but hit a new material onto it. And then just call this ice cream. Make this white. And then a touchy-ish yellow onto it. I don't know why, but that's just what I like to do. Select the chocolate. You can just do it like here. Then hit the ice cream. Copy it. Call this choco. And then give it a brownish color. Nice chocolate-ish. Just like so. Now we have our ice cream, the cone, and give everything some color. And of course you can just adjust some of these settings and just play around with it as you like to do. So now we're just going to add these nuts. Okay, so hit Shift A. We're going to use a icosphere. Open the options and change this to 1. Then from the front view, I'm just going to move this up till something like here. Doesn't matter for too much. And or hit scene collection. Then add in another collection. And put these ones in here. So we don't have to, change all the names for it. And then close this one up for now. So what we're going to do here is give this some shape. So I'm just going to hit S and put this like so. And from the side view, I'm just going to do a little bit lesser. Going to hit Shift D. Place this down here. Going to edit mode. Like these two, hit S and change it something like this. And don't forget to turn this off. Turn on the transparency in case would like so. Just keep changing some of the stuff. You don't have to do like too much, just a little bit. And then one more time, place it down here, give it a little bit more change, just like so. I'm happy. In this case, from the front view, select all of these, hit Shift D, place down here, hit Shift D, place down here. So now we have like 9 different peanut bits. So hit the first one, add in the cone material, and make sure you make a new material onto that. Let's call this bits. Turn on this down here, which is the preview. Not cycles or not Eevee. This is just like when you want to test some stuff. See how the color looks. This time we're going to give it a peanut-ish color. Now it's a little bit of messing around, but it should be a little bit yellow brownish. Then hit this one. And once again. Then select the second row, hit bits, copy bits, just leave it on 0.1. Then give it a bit darker color. Give it to the other 3. Select the third row, hit bits 0.001, make a new one, make it a little bit more darkish, and then apply this to the other 2. Alright, go back to our ice cream. I'm just going to select camera. When it sometimes, act weird like this, just hit the front view and you can actually see that the camera, the focus on the preview camera is actually over there. Just move it up here, go to side view with numpad 3. Hit it right down here, and now you can, a better view onto it. Hit it back onto cycles. So now we're going to select our Choco, go back to selection 1, duplicate this, hit escape, make a new material, just call this fake, and just change the color totally crazy. So when you select, if you would select it via this, when you hit this weird ass color, so you can see it in here. If you would be, like into the solid mode, you can just see by color which one you've selected. And now we're going to add these nuts onto the chocolate, and we're going to do some weight painting. So go to the particles tab, hit new, then we're going to change the emitter to hair. Now it got some fancy hair, and you can close this up for now. Open the render one, change the path to collection, open the collection and choose collection number 2 where our nuts are in. And now you can see our nuts are onto the chocolate. Now of course, if you don't want to see this pinkish stuff, you just turn it off into the render and go to viewport display, what we see right here, and you can also turn it off down here, and now you can see the nuts are on our chocolate. Of course, we want to give this a little bit of rotation, and in order to see the tab rotation, hit advanced, hit rotation, and then just change this and nothing will happen. That's because you need to put it on normal or any of the other ones, and you can see now it has, been randomized into the rotation. And of course, if you find the color of the nuts not 100%, you can just change it yourself. In this case, we're going to weight paint it, because now it's all just onto, how can I say this? It just shared on all the parts. And if you would sprinkle these nuts from the top, there would be way more onto the top than onto the side. Or when you dip it into a, I don't know, a box with nuts. I don't know how to... In this case, let's hit Choco 01, which contains our nuts. Then hit Ctrl Tab, go to the weight paint. And in order to see a little bit more, you can just go to the physics tab. Then go to render and put the scale all the way down to 10 just for now. A little bit of explanation. If I would now hit onto it, you can see like the temperature map. So blue is less, red is much. And you have something between in. In this case, I'm just going to put the weight on 0, so I can just remove this again. And or I'm just going to put the radius up. Now everything is 0 again. I'm gonna hit 7 once more, so I know exactly that I'm perfectly onto the top. I'm going to put the weight on 0.5. Going to crank the radius all the way up and put the strength on 0.5. So when I would hit this, it won't go immediately all the way to the red. And now I can just add here and there a little bit of weight. Just like so, without, having too much in once. And then slightly just rotate around. Give it here and there some weight. To the top, add the most of the weight here. And now I'm all the way out to the max, to the green. And now I'm going to hit just like so until it's completely reddish. Hit Ctrl Tab, go back to object mode, and nothing happens. I'm just going to change this back to 0.05 for now. Now that's because it's not connected up yet. So go to the vertex groups and hit density and select group. This is the weight paint group from just before. And now I can just go to open the emission and crank this up to 5000 just to give you a better idea of what this did. Hit Alt A, and now you can see there is more onto the top than onto the side. It can be lesser still. With the choco being selected, hit Ctrl Tab, go to the weight paint. This increase the radius to, I don't know, 200. The strength is fine. And put the weight all the way down. Then just hit the side of the cone. Just give it a few touches just along the edge. And now you can see we have more onto the top than on the side. I'm gonna go back to object mode. And this is a little bit better. There are some of these nuts on the side, that's okay. A little bit of randomness is always good. With the choco being selected, I'm just going to change this to 500 instead of 1000 or 5000. So it looks a little bit more natural. Go back to cycles. And there we got our ice cream cone with chocolate and nuts. Life is wonderful, ain't it? One more thing to be done, that's the bonus, is, Some people really like this grid, just, you know, without the green or red line. You can always add the red line. Because if you just turn off the overlay, you know, the ground is very plain, very boring. So we're going to add a grid. Just a few steps, you just hit Shift A and then hit grid. Press S for scale, hit 5, because one of these blocks is 5 big. Then go to the add modifier, then add a wireframe, and I know like kind of perfect thickness is 0.005, if I'm not wrong. Turn this off. No, kinda. Turn this back on, and now we're just going to add in an array modifier, and you can see each time when I hit this, it will add another grid. Just going to put this on to 15, and just go to the top view in solid mode with the wireframe on. Just going to move this something like this. You don't have to, you know, put the grid perfectly onto the grid. I just find it more easier to keep it like this. Just need to move it up. Okay, I've moved it up for a bit. I see it can just have 2 touches more, just like so, and or put it off to the side. I'm just going to go roughly like this. That's way too much, but you can also do it like this, as long as you aim out the middle. Give it, oh, that's way too much. A few more when zooming out. 2, 3. Then add in another array modifier, and this time I'm just going to change the chords. This is going to be 0, this is going to be 1, and then add a few more of those. Keep in mind, the more you add, the more heavier it will be. This is fine for now. Close it up. Put this one lesser. Very nice. Now if I just turn off the overlay, you can see turning on this, we have a grid. You can always decide to make it thinner. Hit Shift A, hit grid, hit S, type 10, hit S, type 10 again. I see that I have to change some things because normally my camera angle is a little more tilt to the ground, so wouldn't see this. It's okay. Add a modifier, add a wireframe. Make this into 0.0005, and then from the top view into wireframe mode with the overlay turned on. You can actually see it's a little bit bigger, but it should be fine at some point. So let's just hit it like so. Let's just hit it so. Let's just move it. Should be fine actually. Maybe I can turn it better on like so. Yeah, it just hits perfectly onto it, and over here perfectly onto it. Very good. Okay, I was worried for a second. In this case, let's turn off the overlay, and now you can see we have a grid. It might be a little bit too much, so you can just increase it to 2 or 3. Then hit the other grid, and this is why giving names to things is very handy. And let's just put it into the collection. Grid and grid 1. Let's put this grid onto, let's just say 0.002. Touch more. You know what? I'm just gonna leave it on 0.004. I'm just gonna leave it with this. I think this is very nice. I would use this totally. And of course, you can give it your own colors, whatever you like. One more thing to be done, which I told you I would actually show it to you. When you overlay back on, hit Alt A to unselect everything, press B, and then select the cones. When I Shift D for duplicate the cone, and I'm just going to rotate this on the Y-axis. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just look at this and look at that. I'm just gonna put this down onto the red line, and then, you know, when you would go into render view, you can actually see when that's, you know, the grid is on the inside. Okay, here we go. This is actually what I mean. When you try to select something, it will select everything except for the ones you want. So what I basically did, I can just go to rendering, is add in a solidify. I probably pronounce it the wrong way, but so I just basically used this and cranked it up until the, you know, the grid wasn't visible anymore. I think the best way to view it is in solid mode and turn off transparency. And as you can see, you won't see the inside anymore. And this is actually how I used it. I actually used one of these ice ball, put it down here. The chocolate I did, the Fluid Simulator, that I made 3 different sizes of these coins just above the floor, and you know, I was happy when it was good. And for the nuts onto the floor, I actually have used something else that is actually called rigged body. I'm not going to go into it because there is a lot to explain about that, and I will do that when I'm done with the Fluid Simulator. Probably I will make 2 more tutorials. In the next tutorial, part 4, I'm going to show you something that I showed a teaser of in part 2. If you've got some questions or requests, then comment below. If you found this video useful, then give it a like and subscribe for more content if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.